because I just want to do
Yeah,
the presentation.
this should be the front and
Okay.
center.
Okay. Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, good. We don't need that. We're all friends here, Bruce. So we're going to call to order this regular meeting of council on October 22nd at 2:30. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet First Nations, of whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. A notice of video recording. Council would like to advise the District of Ucluelet staff, audience members, and delegates that this council proceeding is being video recorded, and that recording will be live streamed and subsequently published on the District of Ucluelet's YouTube channel. So you could be able to look at this at the comforts at your home tonight, and the memory will live on forever, so it'll be wonderful. I do have a couple additions to the agenda. I would like to move the delegation of 9.2. I'd like to put that 14.3, we'll call it, so after the zoning bylaw. Can I get a seconder for that?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes from October the 8th, regular minutes.
Move adoption. Second.
Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I'm not aware of any unfinished business. So we're going to get into what we're all here for, Mayor's announcement. So we have a presentation today on the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers for Mary Komodo. So I didn't quite know what that was about, so I just kind of got on, and I like to let everybody know what this medal, who this is given to, for people that are passion, dedication, and to the commitment to community are the driving forces behind the volunteers who receive the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers. The medal recognizes the exceptional volunteer achievements of Canadians from across the country in a wide range of fields and pays tribute to the dedication and commitment of volunteers. They embody the caring country we aspire to build. So a couple notes about Mary. We're all here because we're all fans of Mary Komodo at different levels. She's been a staple in this community for many years. Mary, over the years, has devoted a wealth of time and energy to making Ucluelet a better place. She was involved in the formation of the Recreational Commission, as well as a swimming club. Mary was an active member of the Parent-Teacher Association. Her culinary skills in helping create seafood feasts are legendary. I think most of us in the room have probably experienced her famous octopus salad. So I know that when we hear that, definitely sold out quite quickly when we hear that that's available. One of Mary's passions is local history. She was a founding member of the Ucluelet and Area Historical Society and continues to be a driving force in their pursuit of creating a museum. She is an inspiration and a true mediator for the Historical Society. Mary is a proud representative of our local heritage. She was instrumental in having the Ucluelet area officially acknowledged as a historic place in the Heritage BC Japanese Historic Places Recognition Project in 2017. Today we celebrate and honor Mary Komodo's years of volunteerism and her passion for the community. I just really want to give a big heartfelt thank you to you, Mary, and you can see in the community here that everybody just loves what you do, and it's just a great opportunity to say thank you. And today I'll be presenting with Sergeant Mancini a medal as well as a certificate. Mr. Mancini. On behalf of DRC and
Just want to thank you for all the work you've done for Fluid. It's an amazing town, and people like you are the reason we hang out. So thank you very much. And we have a medal here for you.
Thank you. I believe there's many more people here today who deserve this honor than me. Thank you for offering it to me. I love you all, and I love you, Gila. I'm gonna get a cold. Thank you so much.
And they also have a certificate for you.
Oh.
You don't need to get up. Thank you. And I believe the Historic Society has a couple things they would like to give you as well.
Mary, this is just for all of us who know it. Anyway.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again, Mary, from all of us in the community and you, as far as Robinson and sharing a story about you during the graduation. Did you find out what year your mother graduated? I believe that's mid-70s, and I believe the theme of that graduation. 60s? Oh, sorry. All of the ladies, they're using the Jennifer's daughters. Everybody has a story about you and your family, and you're just such a staple in our community. We just thank you and adore you.
Can we just, yeah, we're just going to get in for a picture.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was great. So I think it's all, it's all downhill from here for us. And just a big shout out to the sergeant too. Look at everybody's gone. I just really want to just make sure we just give a shout out to the sergeant for showing up and doing this as well. I know these meetings can be a little bit not exciting, so if you don't have to stay, don't feel guilty. If you like to all solely leave, we're okay. We'll just take a couple minutes and maybe help Mary. We'll take a couple of minute recess here, okay? got teared up when I say that.
I know. Right?
Yeah, I'm not a big tearer, so.
Yeah. New glasses.
No, I got the old I buy the Amazon 6-packs.
Oh, love it.
I like to change them up, these little $5 ones.
Perfect. Smart looking.
Yeah, normally we have a box of Kleenex floating around.
I know, I looked over that way and
No, I'm a big crybaby. I don't even start. Sorry, I had to change the direction.
I know, I saw that at the food bank.
Oh, yeah, I know. Terrible.
That's sweet. And I photographed weddings. Yeah, I did notice that.
Okay, we'll get back to things. I've been told that looking for approval of the agenda with the addition.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Well, there's a wonderful presentation.
Yeah, it was nice, very nice.
Don't get to do that very often. And
Well deserved.
we're going to move the delegation towards the end. We have a couple of correspondence items. Oh, actually, thank you. I'm right ahead of there. That presentation got me all messed up there. Okay, public input, an opportunity for the community. If there's any questions or concerns, what's going on in the community? Nothing? Okay. Thank you, Marilyn. 2 correspondence items. 10.1, request for letter of support, Ellen Komodo. And 10.2, community child care space creation program and community child care. Yeah, go ahead.
I would move a letter of support for Ellen Komodo. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Just one thing regarding the historical club. I think, we have, you just saw it right here, we have a lot of history in our community, and sometimes we've brought up before that sometimes it's been hidden, at the district office, and I believe that things like as we get some more legs towards the medical center and some new assets in the community, it'll be really neat to involve some of the history of Ucluelet into the design of those. So, so it's very timely. Yep.
If staff could just provide a few comments, if that's all
Perfect.
right.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I'd like to ask Abby Fortune has just a few comments because the concept of the museum is something that's a discussion around staff once in a while, and I think Abby can provide a little summary about that.
Sorry, the microphone is the new way.
Because I'm a little shorter than the rest. Just so council's aware, the planning, Bruce and myself have been meeting with the Historical Society, and we're looking at creating a lease agreement with them right now for the property out at Amphitrite Point. This is relatively new, this request, so what we'll certainly do is we'll look at it and see what we can do to create some support, as well as working in terms of helping to move forward the museum's wishes and the whole area around that. So that's certainly something that staff is committed to do and help move and continue to move forward.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. 10.2 Community Child Care Space Creation Program and Community Child Care. Probably going to have staff, Abby, speak to this one more time. Please.
Yeah, what I would suggest is there's a secondary on that, which is the planning grant, which is January 20th, I believe. 31st, sorry, January 31st. I do believe that would be the proper route to go as we look at both the Child Care Society, the offerings of the District of Ukiah Parks and Recreation Department, and as we move forward with the planning for the school. So I think this is a really good time to step back, look at our needs, look at planning properly for appropriate spacing and funding for the area. And it's my recommendation that to council that that's the route we look at going is for that planning grant due January 30th for municipality.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Fortune? No, I think that. And are you going to have enough capacity to put energy to that? Because obviously.
Yes, I will.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Fortune.
Through the mayor, just to add to that, I think with there is some new opportunities that have come up. Hitatsu does have some daycare spaces as well, and just a little more reasoning. I think why Ms. Fortune and I discussed that the planning route would make sense is that there's a lot of things going on, and there's an opportunity within the new school development that there'll be a neighborhood learning center there, which is for daycare as well. So. With our own daycare, that potential space, and also the child care needs assessment that's being done as well through the ACRD. I think all that information, pulling that together into some sort of planning for the future for our town is why we make that recommendation.
Great. Seems very timely. And we have one information item, 11.1 BC Hydro Community Relations 2019 Annual Report. Councillor McEwen?
Just wondering if we have reached out to BC Hydro about the charging station at the PRVC and the fact that it's taking twice as long as it used to. Through the mayor to staff.
Mr. Boyson?
Yeah, through the mayor. So I did make an inquiry. We were not notified about the change and why it was changed, but following up with them, it turns out that maintenance was needed on the unit that was there. It's being repaired, and this is a replacement station until they get that one back. So I hope to be better informed on that moving forward and hear from Hydro for updates, and I will let council know when that station's returning.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Boyson. Council committee reports. Councillor Cole.
So it's been a fast couple of weeks. I did attend an EOC meeting and some training with staff as a BCAS liaison, which was lovely. That was a week ago. And outside of that, here we are, 2 weeks later.
Thank you. Councillor McEwen.
I attended a Wild Pacific Trail Society meeting on October 9th, and they had no quorum, so they couldn't make any decisions. They could only have discussion. And that's the first time I've seen that happen in 5 years that I've been going to their meetings. So it was just a perfect storm of illnesses and people being away. But anyway, the meeting still went on till 9 o'clock, so there was some good discussion. And on October 16th, I attended the Ucluelet Secondary School, Ucluelet Elementary School seismic upgrade open house at the band room, as did most of us. And that was really good information. The architect's drawings were available for us to see what the new builds are going to look like. And they're just at the beginning stage of public input now, so that's going to be a bit of a process, but really interesting to see what they've got up their sleeves. And then all of us are going to the Vancouver Island Economic Alliance Summit tomorrow and Thursday in Nanaimo.
Thank you.
That's it for me.
Councillor Kemps.
I just want to give a huge thank you to all our volunteers for the marathon that just happened on Sunday. We had over 450 participants, and which put another 1,000 people into our town for the not normally a busy weekend. So that was great. It was nice to see all the businesses busy, and but a huge thank you to the volunteers that braved the weather The reason why there's a lot of people asking why the change, but when I made the change, I did a lot of surveys, and I really wanted to do like a more of a economic development piece to our town. It's always really busy in June, and the prices are always higher for accommodations. So I wanted to bring more people into more of a softer season. So we did it. Everyone was very happy, and just took everyone a couple days to warm up. But thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Yeah, it was kind of nice to see the activity in the community. And even those volunteers braving the weather. So thanks for that, and it's great. I don't have anything to report. Obviously, I did attend most of the meetings and tomorrow I'm looking forward to the summit. First time I've been. So for all of us, I know Marilyn's gone a couple times. There you go. So you'll be able to lead us around. So it'll be great. That's it for reports. Committee reports. Okay, we have 4 staff reports. First is a resolution tracking September and mid-October 2019. Any questions for you? Councillor McEwen?
Page 39, near the top, 5.4. It's the to approve the August 13th regular minutes. And I went back on my September 10th agenda, and it looks like they were approved, but it says in progress on this sheet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for you? Okay. (13.2) Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy. Mr. Boyson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the District of Ucluelet has received funding to move forward climate action work over the last couple of years, both for mitigation to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through the Partners for Climate Protection program, and also for adaptation work as well, which Council has been quite involved with, which we thank you very much for that from staff. So this new opportunity was actually something I applied for on behalf of the district to further move forward our program, which was to be part of Showcase Cities pilot for this Global Covenant of Mayors Canada, which is an international body, and I'll just do a quick presentation about them just to give you some background on it. And what we're requesting today is that Council commits to being a part of this group. So I can ask Joey maybe to move down the slides for me as we go through, unless I have the thing. I do have the thing. Point at you. Okay. Thank you. So just a quick background on what the Global Covenant is. I know the term is quite dramatic in its the way it describes things, but basically it's a collaboration. So, and FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, ICLEI Canada, and the Secretariat itself are a group that's basically leveraging EU funding, European Union funding, to be able to move forward climate action. So what this is basically going to be aligning the work that we've been doing on mitigation and adaptation into a reporting system globally that a few municipalities have been selected for. Can you move to the next slide, please? So this explains how it works. They're the PCP program. We received funding to develop our first climate action plan and set targets, and we're starting to move on some actions now. And we are near the end of the BARC program, Building Adaptive and Resilient Communities, which is about adapting to climate change. So this Global Covenant ties Ucluelet's programs together into one reporting mechanism, so we could share that information out. And this is the Showcase pilot work would combine these two sets of information into one. Next slide, please. And this just explains that a little bit more. And you see below there that's connected to European Union and global partnerships there, and we'll be one of these showcase cities if council agrees. Next slide, please. So the 25 showcase municipalities. So there's currently 30 of these covenant cities that are already a part of the program. So on the island, the city of Victoria is one of them. But for the showcase municipalities, that's the dots there you see are those 25 showcase cities that are part of this project. So on the island, for us, it's Courtenay, Nanaimo, and Ucluelet that would be a part of this program. And the rest of the communities are from back east. So this would then raise the number of communities in Canada up to 55. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, you have to keep clicking a little bit there. Oh, sorry, several times. Keep going all the way, yeah. Basically, just describes what sort of benefits we will get from being a part of the program. So there's additional technical support, capacity building, and reporting assistance. So being a small community, I am well aware of the challenges and our budgets and time and what we can be able to do as a small organization. Being able to leverage all the support that we can get from these types of groups is ideal for smaller communities. And so this is really an opportunity for me to identify where we can move stuff forward for staff and see if we can leverage opportunities. So we can keep going to the next slide, please. This just gives a pilot timeline about how the program would work and when we're selected and how we would move through the capacity building program. Essentially, though, the work that we've been doing already is already feeding into a lot of this program. So we're building further on what we've been doing already. So we have a really strong start on this already. So the additional time and resources required won't be high. So next slide, please. And this just explains those two categories, mitigation and adaptation, and just what you try to achieve. So you're starting with reducing your emissions is to have an inventory, set a target, and make a plan to reduce those emissions. And adaptation, you do a risk assessment, set a goal, and come up with a plan to move forward. And you all know that we're moving forward on all these things. So next slide, please. And this just shows a longer-term commitment about how the program be moving forward and includes in reporting. So next slide, please. That's it. So unless there's any questions that you have, the ask is just to commit. So there's the second page in the attachment to the report is the more formal commitment. And once if Ucluelet's signed up for this and now becomes a member of the group, then we start to begin our process through the Showcase Cities project. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Boyson?
I'll make a motion that Council commit to the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate and Energy, joining thousands of other cities and local governments around the world currently engaged in climate leadership.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And just thank you, Mr. Boyson. I know that this is one of your specialties that you did in your previous job, and I think we're just fortunate that it's a natural fit for you, and you're kind of championing it for the community. So thank you. .3 Halloween Howl, road closures and community invite. Yeah, it happens
I'll
every year.
move recommendation 1 that council authorizes the following road closures to occur on Thursday, October 31st, 2019. Matterson Road from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. from Victoria Road to Marine Drive, and Marine Drive from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. from Matterson Drive to Rainforest Drive. And 2, that council attend the Halloween Howl festivities and invite the community to join them.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We look forward to that. Usually it's a rainy night. We can't be 2 for 2. Okay. 13.4 Remembrance Day road closure.
And I move recommendation 1 that council supports the closure of Peninsula Road in front of the Army and Navy and Air Force Veterans Club, Cenotaph at 1708 Peninsula Road on Monday, November 11th, 2019, from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. And 2, that council directs staff to follow up with the Ministry of Transportation to obtain authorization for the road closure.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Yes, that'll be nice to have a Remembrance Day at the moment there to be a bit quieter than years previous, so that'd be great. Okay, oh, this part here, 14.1, I'll be excusing myself since I own a couple of the neighboring properties, so I'll pass it off to Councillor Cole.
Mr. Gregg, I think you're going to start us off.
I'd be happy to. Thank you. So this is a rezoning application for 2100 Peninsula Road. Let's see if this is working now. It is. So the subject property is near the entrance to town on Peninsula Road. The application for the zoning amendment, the request, is to allow cannabis production as a principal permitted use on the property. So this would be a site-specific zoning amendment for a proposed micro-cultivation and micro-processing facility. And as noted in the report, that micro-cultivation is less than 2,000 square meters of canopy space, which is about less than 200 square meters canopy space, which is, I'm converting ahead of myself here, is roughly 2,000 square feet. The processing is again, the limit there is less than 600 kilograms per year for the facility. So a fairly small scale production facility. And that this would be under the licensing. It goes into some detail in the report on the licensing, which is really through the federal government. And under provincial regulations, essentially they have the market of this is not direct sales. There's no farm gate sales in cannabis production. This is through the province that we control as the purchaser. Just briefly, so this is sort of zooming in on the site. I'll highlight. So this is part 1. This property was subdivided. It shares a driveway, and so it's the front parcel roughly there. The proposal would be a building. They have some renderings in this. I thought it would be good to have the color version. Some of the prints in black and white doesn't sort of show. And this is not a development permit application at this point. It's really just asking for the zoning for the use. And as noted in the report, the applicant ultimately would need both the zoning and then a development permit, building permit. Then they would also need the licensing from Health Canada for the micro-cultivation and processing, and then ultimately a business license as well. It is currently, the property is designated as service commercial, and so that under that definition, in the way we structured our land use bylaw or zoning bylaw, where cannabis production is noted as a separate and use that isn't permitted in any of our zones right now. So that means that a site-specific rezoning is necessary for any facility that would be looking at this. It's entirely contained indoors. That has to do with the security requirements of Health Canada. That it's not out in fields or out in the open. It's very much a small contained manufacturing space with approximately 6 to 8 skilled jobs that would be as part of this. The report goes on to talk about the location, and this in the service commercial area. We've given this is sort of focused some of the thought, and with the draft OCP looking at where are the proper kind of distribution of various commercial uses. That in this location, it's not the same. This isn't Peninsula Road at Main Street. It's a little different setting out on the other end of town. And so the report talks about the sort of transition of commercial uses and what might be appropriate. And so that first sort of strip, where this is the subject property near the entrance to town, in the report it talks about this may be quite appropriate for a mix of what may be more towards sort of the light industrial, not active pedestrian street front the way you have more down into the center of town here, just so that this sort of evolution of uses there, and in the close proximity to the Forbes light industrial area, that may be a better fit, which would mean more of a sort of treed frontage along that entrance area of town, may in fact support the community a little more appropriate in the long run. What was I going to say? Essentially, although this isn't currently permitted under the zoning, it is a unique use in an application that's coming forward. And in the sort of concluding comments there, it talks about there are a number of potential positives of this, not least of which being some diversified jobs, and that this may, although it wasn't anticipated in our 2011 OCP to have this kind of use there or the zoning, that it may well be appropriate. So we're recommending that council may want to move this to a public hearing and collect community input on this. I can certainly attempt to answer any questions, and also I believe Mr. Kruger is here as well and may wish to address council as well.
Through the mayor, to staff, so there's no Sunday market opportunity for this product, correct? Kidding. I understand that it's to be strictly trucked out of the area.
The distribution of legal cannabis is really controlled through the liquor and cannabis regulation branch provincially. So they are the one wholesaler that's legal.
One more question. On page 54, it says that the Central Road and Hammerhead turnaround are jointly owned by the 3 property owners. So just wondering if the other 2 property owners are aware of this application.
I'd suggest that perhaps the applicant could speak to what in a little more detail of what that commitment is. It is essentially a shared private driveway to those 3 properties. It's not a public road, but in terms of their discussions with neighbors or commitments there, that might be something they can speak to.
Well, I guess they could come to the public hearing, I suppose, would be the next step.
Absolutely, and so they would be notified as immediate neighbors as well. So we would certainly be hearing. But whether some of those discussions have happened early, we always encourage applicants to talk to their neighbors early on, so they may well already be aware of the application.
Through the mayor to staff, does a cannabis growing facility have to be the same, be away from public parks and so forth, the same as like a cannabis store? Would Nolan know more of that? But do you know?
There are. Now, I'm not an expert on all of the Health Canada regulations, and perhaps the applicant can speak to this as well because he's been going through the details of it. There are similar regulations. Whether the setback distances are the same for retail as for production, and the legal framework around referrals is a little different, but it's some similar theories, and I understand that the applicant has looked at other lands in the Forbes Road area, but I think the proximity to Tugwell Fields made them a bit of a non-starter because of that proximity to a park. And again, that's just sort of Health Canada, I think, trying to avoid any even perception of conflict. But as in my experience, these are quite self-contained, nondescript facilities.
So I just have a few questions. Most of them are already begun to be addressed on page 64. In just speaking with other people that I know who reside near some of these operations, much larger operations, I'm sure, I'm wondering and I see the percentage and the H13 high efficiency, like the HEPA and the 0.3 micrometers and all that. I'm wondering the term escape any meaningful amount of odors. I guess I'm wondering if that is detectable odors, period, is a question.
Through the acting mayor, I'd suggest perhaps it would be appropriate to have the applicant be able to answer some of those questions as well.
That would be great.
And in the municipal, I would just share in the municipal regulation of odors, it's really a question of is where municipalities may get involved. Is it a nuisance? Some detectable may be different than nuisance, and so that's some subjective terms, but exactly.
As he said, the majority of regulation is pretty vague and subjective. I do believe it's anything that causes a disturbance in the community.
Yeah, so the comments I've heard and some of the problems with neighboring residences near some of production sites were the extreme odor and light, which isn't listed here. I'm wondering how what you can say about light.
If you're saying light and extreme odor, that sounds like it's more of a greenhouse outdoor thing, because we wouldn't have these grow rooms able to be visible in any way.
So there'd be no light
Light.
visible.
So the type of production facility you're describing sounds like something that's more of a greenhouse, where odors would escape.
And then security concerns, I see that they're stated here and that there's strict security requirements. And just the idea of crime or anything like that is going to be addressed. I mean, yeah.
So the mayor of Port Alberni just did a tour of a facility like this, like what is proposing here, and it would be good to speak to her or ask for us to do a tour of that. I believe that would be kind of insightful.
So I will go ahead and move recommendation 1 that District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1258, 2019 be given first and second reading and advanced to a public hearing.
A second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay. We're on to 14.2, zoning bylaw amendment 1557 Larch Road adoption. Did you want to speak to that one?
I could certainly answer any questions. It's simply coming back for fourth reading.
Yeah, we've already done that, so we're just looking for adoption. Please.
Move recommendation 1 that the District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1253, 2019 be adopted.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, I don't see the sergeant here yet. Well, I think he's the only guy. I think he's the only one on shift today. He's had a busy day, so I'm just going to send him a quick text because I can, and then.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a request?
Yep.
Following up on the item related to the child care space creation program, could we request a motion from council for that, to apply for staff to apply for funding for that one? Sorry, we should have done that at the time. So that's for a request for staff to apply for the planning grant program that's due January 31st, 2020.
Okay. Get a mover for that?
I'll make a motion for staff. We're requesting a grant grant
Planning
application
grant.
by the 31st of January.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll give it a 5-minute recess. Looking for a seconder of that.
Second.
Okay, a 5-minute recess. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we'll continue on if he doesn't show. Okay, we'll resume our meeting, and we're going to welcome Sergeant Mancini. Thank you, from the RCMP.
Hi, thanks for having me. Back in a little bit. Do you need me to use
And
this?
you have the mic in because we're televised now. if you
Oh,
don't
we're
mind.
televised.
Yeah,
yeah. Get me all shaky in front of your podium here. No, just wanted to thank you for the opportunity today to come in. Just kind of give a by or a half the year rundown as to where we're at statistically. I got a couple little spreadsheets made up there just to give you just a brief overview of how the policing's been so far this year for calls for service. I'm assuming it's very similar to all emergency services within the community, growing year by year. So far to date, we're projected to finish probably about 17 to 20% higher for total call volume than we did last year throughout the year. So it's definitely been a busier time, but it's been good and we've been getting through it. I think that's just what we're going to come to expect every year. It's just going to get increasingly busier and busier. So as you can see through the charts that we've prepared, it does show the growth in overall calls. I didn't break them down this time like I did at the end of the year. I'll probably do that for you again at the end of the year, where I can give you the rundown of exactly the types of calls that we are going to, whether it be assaults or mental health related, or driving complaints or drug complaints or things like that. So this year for sure, what I can say is that when it comes to mental health, our mental health calls for services are up. That was primarily through the beginning of the year, where we had a high increase of people requiring mental health assistance. A lot of those people have since moved on, so it's kind of petered off and gone back down to a normal state. But a lot of our stats, I think, are driven and are increased from those few incidents that we've had. Yeah, so again, just in regards to the stats, we are up. But yeah, I think that it's a lot of that has to do as well with some of the proactive work that the members are doing. I spoke last time that we were going to be putting drugs first and foremost as one of our priorities in combating that within the community. We are currently in the process of forwarding charges on 9 people within the community for either drug trafficking or possession for the purpose of trafficking. So hopeful to have that back from the Crown Attorney as the go-ahead here right away, and then we'll be able to make that public with exactly who they are and what they were moving in town.
Wonderful. Just a quick question regarding your 20% up. Is there a theme, or are they just all over the place? What that upper?
You know, it's all over the place. Like I said, I know our January, February, March were really spiked, and I think a lot of that had to do with certain calls for service that just were repetitive that we weren't used to having. A lot of those were mental health, a lot of those were substance abuse, and it was repeat clientele that just tied up a lot of resources, which you're gonna, you know, it doesn't take long for, you know, in a 3-month period, you know, one household has 25 calls for service. It can really spike a small detachment's numbers. So I think that's kind of where it is. It's nothing specific as to, you know, we're not having an increase in assaults or robberies or anything like that. It's just a generality as to varying calls, which happen based on the people that are around or the clients that we're dealing with.
Are there any? Councillor McPherson?
Hands going up all over.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you're here. You know.
Yeah. You said that that mental health spike, a lot of those people have moved on, meaning out of the community?
Yes, correct. As I'm sure you're all aware, Nucleus, that's one of the hardships for people that are suffering from mental health. We don't have a lot of resources within town, so a lot of times that's why the police get involved, is because of the lack of resources. And then eventually, you know, the people are either forced to move on, or, you know, they find help somewhere else.
So with Pools Land closing and sort of the components of mental health and substance abuse that sort of take place there and those displaced people, are you anticipating that we're going to see some overflow now or in the spring when we see the resurgence of most of the population that would be the summer population for their kind of spill over into our community?
Yeah, it's hard to project. I think that I guess anything's possible depending on, as we know, places to stay is always a challenge, and when you come out here with no plan or purpose, you're going to end up just staying wherever you can. In regards to Pools Land, I don't know that we've seen a spike as of yet with people coming over. I don't know exactly where they're at for removal. I think they're well underway, but and I haven't really necessarily noticed an influx of transients in that regard that would have had generated calls for service from Pools Land. So, and I don't know how many more people they have there or how many we'd expect. I would assume that most people get the word pretty quick that they're closed for business, and they'll know that before they come out, because I think a lot of people come out with the idea that that's where they're going. So once that word starts to spread, I don't think people will come out with the expectation that they're going to be there. And to my knowledge, as of right now, we don't have any locations that are that accessible to town in the area that would draw them here. But again, it'll be one of those wait and see how it plays out. It's hard to project.
Do you apply for extra staffing for the summer months, for the peak months?
When we run into vacancies, or if we run into vacancies, we will. Traditionally, no, we don't. We just work it as it is. There are options to apply for what would be called a reserve constable. We've had them here last year, within the last fiscal year, covering off whether it be transfers out where we don't have the person in, or things like that. So we have utilized them. We don't utilize them as an overage in the summertime.
Could you utilize that as an overage in the summertime?
It's a
And is that
request.
full time?
Yeah, it's a request. I don't know if we're fully or fully up to strength. It would be trying to sell that to our management team that it's needed for them to, because obviously when you're bringing in a reservist, you're bringing in a lot of costs associated with that. You're putting that person up full time in a hotel. You're paying their meals. You're paying their accommodations. You're paying their salary. So it's a big overage, as you know, for the detachment. So if we are up to strength, then that's something that we're normally able to deal with what comes in. However, if we're short a body, or if we have paternity leave or maternity leave, or sickness or illness or injury, then it definitely is something that we will look at to make sure we're at minimums throughout the summer.
So as you know, the speed bumps went in front of the elementary school, and it seems to be working really well. There's a lot of citizens still asking for some police presence in that area. There's still like the race strip after the like towards Marine Drive that is utilized, and I noticed a lot of speed being like very early in the morning of those commuters and stuff. I'm just wondering if we could ask for some police presence at those kind of peak times.
Yeah, we can definitely focus. I know the guys go out quite often, and they'll have their radar on, and whether it be just driving through, especially morning pickup and drop off of the kids, because that's our biggest concern. And I'll tell you, I know it seems like people may be speeding or flying, but 30 kilometers through those speed bumps, you're not going much faster than that, and we haven't noticed people going much faster than that. People might get up to the 35, maybe 38. And now you're not really into it's more of a educational thing at that point, as opposed to a monetary fine. And then once you get past it, you're back into a 50 zone, right? So it seems like people are going a lot faster than they necessarily are. But as far as I know, and from the people I've talked to, the speed bumps are great. They're slowing people down. We can definitely look at ensuring that that's happening, just through some regular patrols scattered throughout.
One of the things, so I imagine we're going to see you again. When do you come up with your priorities for 2020?
April 1st.
Okay. So we'd be able to participate a little bit?
Oh
in
yeah,
that?
no,
Okay.
yeah, no. I know when I came last time, that was the request too. Is think about what you want us to focus on. We like to try to pick 3 to 4 priorities that the detachment can focus on, and work towards those goals. Right now, our priorities for the detachment for the 2019 into the fiscal year of March 31st is community involvement, maintaining involvement within the community, both here as well as Uqua First Nation, drug investigations, working at getting street level enforcers off the street, as well as significant seizures, and then impaired driving. focusing on pulling impaired drivers off the street. So those are the priorities that the members of the detachment have goals or tasks to try to accomplish throughout the year, and that's what we're working on right now. But with that said, too, we're always open to if a pressing situation is developing within the community, by all means, we're opening to steering our efforts elsewhere when needed.
No, I think everyone's been very satisfied. I just want to curious, as you align them, and you can only do so much with your five bodies there. But you did talk about impairment, which is interesting because obviously cannabis has been a conversation in this community, and I'm just kind of curious, what are you seeing in the community regarding impairment? Have you been seeing up, or is it kind of the same?
I think it's pretty status quo. There's definitely a fair number that come in and that the members are locating while they're out there. Nothing that's it's not there's I wouldn't find it to be a spike. I wouldn't find there to be any changes necessarily from last year. I'd have to get you exact stats, which I'd be able to do. But I know we have a couple members that are working towards the Alexa team this year, which is where they try to get a certain number of impaired drivers just to raise awareness for that cause. So we're hopeful to have a couple people on that team as well, just for the sheer numbers that they've gotten. But most of those are proactive, where they're out actively trying to find people that are whether it be intoxicated by alcohol or other substance. So.
Right.
Do you have is it on your radar at all, and do you have an idea of when we could expect there to be a more significant roadside screening device for cannabis use?
It's my understanding is it's currently being tested, being field tested in certain places. Once units haven't been purchased yet, to my understanding, aside from the ones that they're testing. Once the testing is done, if they find them suitable, then they'll be in the hands of every frontline guy in the detachments, so it's still in the field testing stage for the actual device, and right now we're just relying on our the members, whether it be here in the West Coast, that are trained as drug recognition experts that can do roadside screening to determine whether or not the person's on any form of intoxication from substance.
I'm just curious, because when one of your officers goes for training for that influence, how do you describe it?
Like drug recognition expert.
So how long of a course is that? I'm curious.
I believe that one is approximately a month, and that's it's either 2 weeks or there's 2 weeks followed by another 2 weeks. So it's quite in depth, and they've just actually relocated where they used to send them all down to the States to do the training, and I think Mesa. Now it's being done in-house, so which helps to process people through. And again, it's one that we rely a lot on our traffic members that come out for that, as well as people that are showing an interest to work towards that area.
No, and obviously I just want to officially say thank you. I know you obviously our bylaw. We have one bylaw person, and we're unable to find him a suitable sidekick to help him on the streets there. But Brent did a great job, just kind of being the one-man band here this summer, and I know he works with you quite a bit. There was some talk of perhaps maybe a reservist or some kind of officer in your program might be able to help, but I think you kind of nailed it. If you're looking for someone from out of town, the cost of housing and LOA and stuff would make it very quickly too expensive for us to be looking at that.
Yeah, which is very possible. Could be. It doesn't come cheap, that's for sure.
No. Okay. Perfect. Well, it's easy. It's good to see you, and in both colors today. And again, thanks for stepping up like you did for Mary Komodo this morning. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I was glad I could be here for it. And like I said, if anything comes up, let me know, and I will get you some more in-depth stats for the end of the year.
End of the year, and it'll coming quickly.
Very quickly.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Okay. I moved that to there, but I do want to just talk about mayor's announcements because I didn't want to make at the very beginning, make it just to delude what we were taking away from Mary Komodo there. But it might be an opportunity for other business for Mr. Boyson. Maybe he can give ourselves just an update regarding 52 steps. I think there's still a little bit of confusion whether the project was on or off, and maybe you could just officially let everybody know.
Through the mayor. Yes, officially the 52 Steps project is not going on by DFO at this point. They've canceled that project. I'd say they delayed it, at least indefinitely. So unfortunately, we were trying to step up as members of the community and the district office to inform the public about this change coming up, and then they changed their mind shortly afterwards that they were not going to continue with the project. So, so we're working to get the information back out to the public to explain the change, and we'll hope to work better with DFO down the road as a little more heads up on the project and commitment to it. Essentially what happened was they did put it out to tender, and they weren't able to confirm a company to do the work. So that does happen sometimes. There's a chance that it could come back again next year. We just will have more of a discussion about it through our Harbor Authority meetings for sure, and try to give our the public a little bit more advance notice. And I think because it was approved in principle so long ago, I think it's time to bring it back and make sure that there's some public awareness before it happens. And we are pursuing some discussions around divestment just to see if that is an option. It's not something council has expressed. It's just something that staff would do just to see if that is of interest, and then we'd bring that forward to council if that was an option. But so we're having those conversations with DFO right now.
Perfect. And I think at the next committee meeting, we'll look forward to having Spencer there, and we'll continue. We're all very much attached to 52 Steps in our own ways, and challenge him on his master plan, and we'll go from there. That's all we can do. So maybe this could be a bit of a blessing in disguise. Yeah. I do want to just do a shout out to last night's election with Gord John being re-elected for this area. I think he's very much a great representative for us, and he's very much always been there for us. And so I'm personally very delighted to see that continue on. And I did a little texting game last night with him and just kind of give him a week off. And then I know we have some exciting things that we want to get going on the radar, and it's nice to have that person in Ottawa that understands who we are. Maybe that's it for other business. Question period. Any questions what went on this afternoon from the audience? Mother? Mom, you have any questions? Mr. Carson, how are you? Okay, nothing? Unheard? Okay. So I'll just make a procedural motion to move in camera that the meeting be closed to the public in order to address agenda items under section 91 C, E, and K of the Community Charter.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. That's it.